This is Catherine Getzky, host of the Hope Matrix podcast. We are here to share science, stories, and strategies for how to hope. I'm the Chief Hope Officer of the Shine Hope Company, and Shine is the mnemonic for how we teach hope. So when we talk about hope, we talk about how we use stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions, nourishing networks, and eliminating challenges, which are our thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. Hope is a skill. You can measure hope, you can teach hope, and you can start practicing skills to activate higher hope in your life today. And on this Hope Matrix podcast, we aim to bring on guests, experts in science, people with stories, and those that have strategies for activating hope in your life. Well, hello, listeners. Welcome today to the Hope Matrix podcast. Super excited to have you all here today. And I love this guest, and we're really grateful to have his time. He is so busy doing work around the world on happiness. Luis, and how do you say, I don't even know how to say your last name, Gallardo?
Come on, after all this time.
I know. I don't think I ever had to introduce you, though. You know, I introduce all your speakers. Yeah.
Yes, Gallardo, whatever you prefer.
Gallardo. Yes, it's very hard for me to roll that G. So he runs so many things, actually, but he's part of the World Happiness Foundation, the World Happiness Fest, the World Happiness Academy, the World Happiness Awards. He runs an event every year. He helped get the International Day for Happiness established at the United Nations. He's done just really incredible work around the world. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Hope. I'm so happy being here, as always.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, just to do a quick recap for all of the listeners, we talk about the 5 keys to hope, how to shine for hope. We focus on the stress skills, happiness habits, inspired action, nourishing networks, and eliminating challenges. So we're going to talk more about each of those areas today. So first of all, you have an event coming up that I just want to make sure we get out there right away. And you've been running this event every year. Do you want to share a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. World Happiness Fest, which is now the largest, the most diverse and polycentric event and forum on happiness and well-being in the world. So it's happening online from March 17th to the 22nd. Right in the middle, March 20th, is International Day of Happiness. And this is the 10th anniversary. So this is a big year. And then we have an incredible agenda, 6 days online. And this year, some cities around the world are going to be going back to in-person events as well. That's why this is so cool event, because it's polycentric. We call it polycentric. So everybody can get access. You are in Spain, Zaragoza, you are in Asheville, or you are in Vietnam, you can get access to it in person or online. So March 17th and 22nd, between those days.
Perfect. And what's the website for it?
The website is worldhappiness.foundation.
Worldhappiness.foundation.
Yes. And there you see, the first thing you see is the World Happiness Fest.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, really, I've been involved the last several years, and we have some of the most incredible speakers from all around the world that are in health and technology and education. And let's see, what are the other areas?
Public policy, happiness at work. But if there is one day that for me, and I think for you as well, because we do this together, that day is mental health and health. And it's key. That day is so important. And I think that we've been bringing, almost every single body who has something to say at a big scale and a small scale about this important topic of mental health, happiness, and hope. So I'm so looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. And what is the cost for the events?
Well, actually, you join on YouTube or Facebook is free. So this is like accessible to everybody. And then if you want to make a donation, because you are going to be using the networking and everything, is just $9. And actually for every ticket of $9, we give one for free to teachers that are helping and develop or underserved communities. And then all the benefits, all the proceedings are going to our projects in Bhutan, in the Himalayas. So we are working there with many different institutions. So we are here for impact.
Wow, that's incredible. What are you doing in Bhutan?
Well, as you know, Bhutan is one of those, is a kingdom in the Himalayas. And it's 800,000 people. And it's one of those countries that really focus in a deep way on bringing well-being and happiness at all levels of the society, from policymaking, from the king himself to the parliament, and then to all the education system. It's one of those countries in the world that, from a wealth point of view, is one of the poorest, as we could say, but from a happiness point of view, is probably the happier. So we always bring there many leaders to have a contrast and to see life in a completely different environment where people with little, maybe no more than rice and chilies, are fulfilling a lot of what they want to do in life. And they have a lot of hope. It's one of those countries with, I would say, with the rate of hope and happiness higher in the world. So it's pretty unique.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, they definitely say that after a certain salary, I think in the US, it's 75,000 or something, that, you know, your happiness doesn't change much, but it's things like connection to others and a feeling of purpose and whatnot that is really impactful on your happiness.
It builds on a different mindset. It builds on an abundance mindset. I mean, hope is a motivation. Happiness is a state. So when we combine a state with a motivation, that's two ingredients that really can change life for so many people. So I think the combination of hope and happiness is so beautiful that it's something that we have to keep pushing to as many people as we can, because this is a formulation for fulfillment and for flourishing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you bring up mindset, and we created a course called Hopeful Mindsets over the summer. And that's really what we talk about. And even the Hope Matrix overall, the Hope Matrix is really about the despair, moving from despair to positive feelings. So that emotional state, and then moving from that helplessness to inspired action, which is kind of that motivational state. And you have to apply both the positive feelings and the inspired action to have a hopeful mindset for really anything that you encounter in life, especially if it's challenging or something you need to overcome. And so, yeah, mindset is so key, you know, to hope and happiness. Let's talk about the stress response and stress overall. And stress skills, really. I mean, we talk a lot about meditation and mindfulness, and you've worked with some of the most amazing people. What do you do to manage your own stress?
Yes, and actually, what you said, stress skills, is so true. It's and this is something that is not improving in the world. So I think that, I mean, the solution to stress is calm. How do you get into a state of inner peace, which is what I understand by calm. And this is, I think this is the opportunity that we have in the world. We are all at the World Happiness Foundation. We are all about global peace, but we can get to global peace through inner peace. And when you know that it's through inner peace, individual inner peace, connected to your community, what drives anything that you want to accomplish in life from a sustained point of view, then it's very easy to say, okay, I need to find techniques, tools that help me personally to get to inner peace. And in this case, in my personal case, I've been exploring so many. So I feel that I'm an explorer of tools to get to inner peace. And I have a toolbox. I mean, we have so many. And there are several that I like, but I tried, I would say, more than 100 different techniques. And some of them are coming from different cultures, from different religions, from the lab, from based on research or based on ancestral wisdom. One that I like the most, and I feel so connected and so calm just thinking about it, is contemplation. And contemplation is not meditation and is not concentration. So concentration is when you focus heavily on something and then you make it your focus. So this is something that sports people know a lot, is you concentrate and you start even with visualization of what's going to happen. You create your future scenario and you concentrate on that outcome. That's concentration. That's an amazing step to get into calm. If you combine that with breathing, so you concentrate with the right rhythm of breathing. And I like the 6-4 cycle. So you breathe in 6 times, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 6 seconds, and you hold for 4. So you focus, concentrate, and breathe cycles of 6 and 4. That's one technique that works for everybody. It's almost amazing. But if you want to go to the next level, that's the one I use, is contemplation. And contemplation is beautiful because contemplation, you have an active mind. And this is the difficult thing when people start with meditation. Normally, you cannot stop your mind, and people think that meditation is about stopping. That way, a lot of people don't, in the end, don't meditate because they cannot get it. But contemplation is different because you have to have an active mind. So this is very good for people that cannot manage the thoughts and it's difficult for them to meditate. So contemplation, you focus and you observe with an active mind. So for example, I'm looking at you now and you're smiling. When I see your smile, I see that something's happened. So suddenly I see that your blouse moves to one side. And I say, oh, how cool. So I keep contemplating. And suddenly I see that the sun moves behind you and I see the light. And then I see the shadow behind your back. And at some point, that is going to ignite something in me. Maybe an idea, maybe another thought. And then the moment that happens, I integrate that into my daily life, into that moment. So it's beautiful because you can do contemplation anytime with anything. And the moment you start doing that, you are starting to get close to a state of flow. And we all know that getting to states of flow are an amazing opportunity to increase your happiness, your health, your creativity, and so on. That's why contemplation is one of those techniques that I use that gets you very close to flow. And then when you control that technique, and it takes some practice, then you are getting much more ready to go into meditation. And meditation is the third technique that is critical here, to manage and to self-regulate and to understand your emotions. Because when you meditate, basically, you are aware of your thoughts, but you let them come and go, and you don't attach to any of them, which is very difficult for people who ruminate a lot and so on. So yeah, I would say that those three at different levels are the ones that I use every day.
Amazing. You do it every day?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So tell me more, so after the contemplation and you see the shadows and the light, how would you integrate that into what you're doing? Or how does that then play out in your life? Or
yeah, in this case, what the technique is, you observe till something happens. When that happens, then that's the signal that you get in order to do something with it. And maybe you decide, well, this is not big enough for me to do anything. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you say, okay, this is what I needed in order to start thinking about something else. So it's just a small, subtle change for you to get a call to action to do something. But you are waiting for that moment to do something. And then the something that you do after is up to you. But the technique is basically you wait for the signal in order to do something.
Got it.
I do this very often. I live by the ocean. So I look at the clouds, I see them move. And when I see a shape that inspires me, that's the signal for me to do something. But because you are waiting for that moment, it's so cool because you don't have anything more to do. It's like, you are waiting for the signal. And it might take a minute or it might take 3 or 4. And but that's the time that actually you're using to calm your mind. So it's amazing. It's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. I feel calmer just listening to you talk about it, actually. It's great. Yeah, so I mean, we talk about the stress skills as it relates to hope because we have what we teach our kids, the downstairs brain and the upstairs brain. And you can't be in the downstairs brain and the upstairs brain at the same time. And so the downstairs brain is where our kind of intense emotional responses occur. And so once we calm those down, we can then get to our upstairs brain, which is where we practice our happiness habits, those things that keep us in that state of flow and joy and connection and all of that. So what are some things that you do to keep yourself in that state, in that happiness kind of space and joyful space?
Yes, and this is so important because something that we've seen, not just through research, but actually through practice, is that the more you practice one technique that works for you, you start getting into a state of fundamental well-being. So that means that you get to the state. And when you're in that state, you are in the state. So that means that you have created the conditions to stay calm, even when something bad is happening. So actually, you feel that you don't get as angry as you were before. You keep getting angry, but now you identify that anger with something that is connected to triggers. So you become aware. And this is so important for everybody to become aware of your emotions and why, and what is triggering that. So for example, something that I love working with my kids as well. And in this case, I link this to conflict resolution because that's what I've studied and that's been my passion as a sociologist. So I like understanding communities and how groups behave. And that's why you get into conflict resolution. You need to understand why people get angry. Because it's anger that is not funneled in the right way, what creates a lot of issues. But anger, when you understand that anger is based on injustice, and that's the state, that's so interesting. Because then when somebody gets angry, well, they feel injustice. And you know that automatically. It's like that person is angry because she or he feels that there is injustice going on. And then you go, okay, what is the injustice? So then you forget about the anger. It's not anger anymore, it's injustice. And then you get into belief systems because a lot of injustice is based on what you believe is right or wrong. So then you understand what is the belief system in this community. What is the belief system for this person? So suddenly, when you are trained to do that, you move from anger to, okay, this is a trigger automatically. And she's angry or he's angry because she doesn't feel recognized for her work. Why? Because the belief system here is meritocracy. It's about those who do most are getting privilege. So this is just an example. So when you are able to relate emotions to states, that I think that's the first step. It's like sadness. People think like, well, I have to avoid sadness. And actually, sadness, what is giving you is the opportunity for personal growth. So all the personal growth happens, the deep one happens in a sadness space. And sadness is related to personal growth, always. So people who want to make up bad feelings, emotions, they are really missing opportunities for growth. And anger, sadness, in this case, I would say those two together with not feeling recognized are three emotions that are absolutely amazing in order to build our next generation of leaders, a more fulfilling life. So, but normally we try to hide them. So
I know, yeah, fear too. Fear is a big one. So, right? Yeah, it's something we have our kids in Hopeful Minds do. Is we teach them about emotions first and foremost, and what are the emotions, and identify them, and where do you feel them in your body, and what are the messages they are bringing to you, because we know we turn to things like addiction or violence or self-harm if we act out of those emotions, as opposed to just sitting with them and being kind of inquisitive and kind of understanding them. So it's such an important point and such an important part of managing that stress response in general. Like if you're triggered with a fear response or with anger or with sadness, what are those emotions telling us? And kind of instead of running from them, kind of observing them and listening to what signals they're telling us.
Yes, and it's painful, as you know, doing that.
I know.
And we avoid pain. We avoid a lot. So it's like I'm avoiding. And it's so funny because some people avoid them and some people attach to it like crazy. And they get depressed because of over-identification. So when you are over-identified, with that's an issue. When you avoid it completely, that's another one. So that's what we have to navigate. How do we attach the touch in a way where we can be free?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I used to say I could ruminate myself into a depressive episode, and that's what you do. You attach to the sadness and then you ruminate on it again. And, and instead of stopping that cycle, it's like, no, feel the sadness, experience it, but don't hang on to it, and like you said, identify with it. So important.
Yeah. But, sometimes it's very difficult because your group and the peer pressure is moving you into the attachment.
Yeah.
And actually, Catherine, that's my motivation in order to keep going and understanding the roots of happiness and suffering, because I've seen that in the worst scenario that you can see that, which is war. Something that I was right after I finished my studies in sociology and conflict resolution was getting into situations of post-war in Europe, in this case in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I was an international observer with the United Nations, and we were helping to bring, in this case, the opportunity for people to vote. And when you are and you see the tragedy of people killing each other because of the consequences, then what you don't want is that to happen again. But even in those situations, you meet people with a lot of hope. And I still remember it was 4 a.m. in the morning, the day before the elections, and there was a line. It was 1 mile of probably people waiting at 4 a.m. in the morning to vote. And all those people were full of hope. But I saw this woman, her name was Bligna, and I approached her. And her face was like, she was kind of anxious about getting there and voting. And I said, well, it's very early here, and you are already waiting. And she said, yes. And she said, well, I lost my family. I lost my friends and my house, everything. but I haven't lost my hope to live in peace. Wow. And then she continued and said, I haven't lost my hope to be happy one day again. Imagine in that tragedy, you find people full of hope for a potential better situation. And you realize that the consequence is terrible of getting too angry. And this is what many people use for groups to actually alienate their individuals. So this is very, very important. And this is the peer pressure. This is the bullying at school. This is why we have to be super aware of how this is so easy to trigger, because it's just the combination of fear and hate. When you combine fear and hate, or this is you, this is me, this is the other, this is me, separation, that's the beginning of everything. And then when you get into that, you have to be very, very, very calm in order to avoid and stop things. So this is a big deal. That's why I think that we are going now through a lot of confusion in the world. COVID is creating so much disruption. People feel in many ways alienated because the government is telling us what to do and how and when to do it. And if it's not the government, it's the mayor. And it's not the mayor, it's your building or the association. And it's not, it's your wife. So it's like, okay, this is, and you will lose our freedom.
Yeah.
And the moment you feel that way and you combine this fear and then people get a bit angry, then, oh my goodness, this creates so much. So this is the cycle and that we don't want to get in. So I wanted to share that story because once you've seen the consequences of not being calm and having inner peace, we have to learn. And this is the moment where we really need to teach people and to help people to get into a state of inner peace. That's what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say one thing, the news is not helping us do that.
Definitely not.
So
but there is a moment that is not even driven. It's just people talk, and you get into the spiral, and then nobody knows why we are doing this, but we keep doing it. That's when we need conscious leadership. That's when we need kids, and this is the key. We need older people. We need over 65 and kids. Those are the population where we need to go. It's like,
so basically, we're not needed. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's like, no, let's bring these two populations together. So for now, I think that we spoke about this a few months ago. This experiment that is working so amazingly in Canada. They combine foster kids. Basically, there was a hospital and basically an hospice with foster kids, and they combined them with another hospital with basically elderly people. So it was people with no family, over 65, 70, and foster kids. And they combined both into the same building. Well, it was incredible because the foster kids found somebody who was loving them. And then suddenly you find a reason why you keep living, because you have somebody to care for. So I think this is what we are needing right now. We need a bit more of care, a bit more of calm, and that's going to be coming through our kids. And that's going to be coming through really wise old people out there. And of course, in the middle, somebody like you who brings a bit of light to everybody else, right?
There's an amazing program called the Friendship Bench that was started out of Zimbabwe, and they teach grandmothers cognitive behavioral therapy, and these grandmothers sit on these benches in these schoolyards, and kids come and talk to them, and it's been so successful, and for both populations, as you said, the kids and the grandmothers and grandfathers. So yeah, I love that intergenerational kind of blending. So what do you do for your happiness? What do you do to stay joyful? Like nutrition, exercise, connections, any specific practices to keep your state of joy and flow moving?
Yes. Well, one thing that I love is yoga and nidra. Nidra is, yoga, there are so many types of yoga. Normally people know the physical yoga, the way you use your body. But that's 3% of yoga, really, only 3%. Then there is so much going on. And nidra, for me, is amazing because nidra is the opportunity to get into lucid dreams. And we can explain this. Basically, you are dreaming, but you are aware of what you are dreaming. So you are consciously aware of what you are dreaming. And then you dream and you recreate and even create those dreams. So there is one technique that is just spectacular. But this is, it takes time and it takes like curiosity, okay? Which is meditating in your dream. Okay, so you are dreaming that you are meditating, and you are actually meditating in your dream. Well, that moment of meditation multiplies, and this is research. This has been researched. Multiplies by 20 the impact of meditation. And nidra is a state where you can use music or you can use sound in order to get into alpha, theta, beta frequencies. And when you get into them, then you are facilitating how to get into another state. So when you get into another state, then you play with that. So this is, all this is ancestral. This is not new. This is something that has been used for hundreds of years, but now, but it looks like few people know about all these techniques. There is another one, is Lester, and so he was a researcher. Actually, he was dying in the hospital, and the doctors came to him and said, "Well, you're gonna die, actually. So you can go home because probably it's better for you to do it at home. But at the same time, you cannot go home." In the next couple of weeks, because we have to do some more work on you. But in a couple of weeks, probably it's better that you go home. Well, he said, he was so angry. It's like, it's not possible. So this is not possible and it's not happening. So he started practicing love. And love is so powerful in many ways. It's not romantic love like, I love this person and I want to die for this person. And no, love is that other energy. It's kind of emotion, energy state. It's something so unique that when you feel it, change completely the energy. And when you change energy, you can change matter, because energy and matter is the same. Actually, when you go into the most light energy that we can have, you dissolve matter. So this is so interesting because even physicists can prove this. So he was and this is something that he didn't know it was going to happen, but he was for some reason feeling love for everything. And then the nurse was coming to the room and he was feeling love for the nurse. And then he was feeling love for his feet. And he was just like feeling love all the time. Well, what happened after 2 weeks is that actually the doctors went back to do some different testing, and he actually radically changed his physiology. So nobody knew what happened, but he went back home and he started researching the issue. And actually, there is a technique now that is called Lexter, that is about feeling love for everything. And I practice that technique. And you don't need more than 5 days to see incredible change. And basically, the technique is you make a list of the people you hate the most, of everybody who did something bad to you, And it doesn't have to be just to you. It could be to history. You can think of Hitler. You can think of, and then you go one by one and you start feeling love. The moment you start doing this one by one, it's about an hour every day. You get to the fourth day, the fifth day, and suddenly that person doesn't mean anything else anymore for you. And then you can keep going. So this is one of those techniques that is incredibly powerful. And actually, I think this is very much linked to forgiveness and hope.
Yeah.
So we know that the more you forgive, the better for your hope as well. So that's another technique that I practice. So yoga nidra, Lester, and then all this contemplation and so on. I mean, I'm having fun practicing as much as I can in all this space.
I know, that's amazing. And you've learned from so many different people. It must be hard to choose because there's so many things available. But I love that. We'll be sure to list them out in the description what they are, specifically what they are. So that's amazing. And do you set goals? So when we talk about hope, we talk about future orientation. So like wanting to get to something, feeling good along the way, and then kind of making steps to get there. Do you write down your goals or what you want or your hopes for the future?
Yes. But sometimes I think I'm crazy. The World Happiness Foundation purpose is to realize a world with freedom, consciousness, and happiness for all. That's 10 billion people by 2050. That's the number of people that is going to be on planet Earth if we don't have more COVIDs by 2050. So, that's a goal. But then I don't attach to it. It's like, okay, this is a moonshot. It's like, okay, let's go for everybody happy, free, and conscious. Mm-hmm. And then something that I'm very happy with myself in this regard is that I'm very practical. It's like, okay, I can dream of this, but then I'm going to keep doing practical things. So for example, now I am working with this incredible organization called No Barriers. And No Barriers is focused on people with persistent struggles and disabilities. And we bring them into 3 days, 4 days, 5 days retreats in nature. And we have a protocol that goes from forgiveness. So one day you focus on the past and forgiveness. The second day you focus on the present and self-compassion. And the third day you focus on the future and self-care. So you move from forgiveness to self-compassion, to self-care in nature with people like you. So right now we are focusing on caregivers. And this is something that is incredible. In the United States, there are 53 million caregivers, family caregivers.
Oh, I know, yeah.
And 63 million people with disabilities.
Yeah.
When you combine one person with disability with one caregiver, we are talking about 100 million families. This is everybody.
Yeah, I know.
This is everybody. So actually, when we bring these caregivers and these people with disabilities in nature, and we do this type of protocols, in 5 days, their life is transformed, completely transformed. So I like to go into that practicality. It's like, sure, we're going to get to 10 billion, but in the meantime, let's focus on 10 people. Let's focus on that. So that's the way I balance setting big goals with accountability. It's like, okay, I'm going to get to 10 billion, but first I'm going to get to 1.
Right.
So this is part of what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we talk about it with goals. We talk about aspirational goals. So kind of that it's good to have a few really big goals, and then it's good to have, shorter, practical, but it's good to have a combination of both of them, because if you don't see that big picture, you don't push as hard, you don't stretch as much. And in talking about that too, I think what you've done really well is created we talk about nourishing networks, but how to create a really strong network. And it seems like you've done that around the world, and you continue to build on that, and people that kind of share a common passion and purpose. How have you been able to do that?
Yeah, this is an amazing question, and it's not common sense. So it's like, okay, in order to build, the first thing we think is, in order to build a big network, you have to think big, and you have to go to everybody. No, you get lost. In order to build a big network, you have to go small, super small. You have to go to 5 people. You have to create what I call the rope team. The rope team, and this is coming from climbing, is when you are hiking, you are climbing, you rope to your squad, to your team. And if something happens to one, the rest are going to take care of that person. So you are really roped. You can only be roped to 5, 6 people. That's your rope team. You go and you create your rope team. And that rope team, at some point, is going to be part of your rope team, but they are going to be creating their own ropes. So imagine 5, multiply, and then you get scalability. So it's 5, it's 25, and then you keep going. And now we all know what exponentiality is, because we know COVID, and we know how we move from one case to everybody. It's the same with community building. You go into rope teams, from rope teams to go to expanded family. And from expanded family, then you start encouraging others to create the rope teams. That's the way you get into a global network, because everybody is accountable for their own rope team. And that's it. I mean, it takes time, and it takes keep getting the fire on in many ways. People come and go, but in the end, I mean, you don't need 10 billion in order to get to 10 billion. That's the other beauty, is in order to get to 10 billion, you need a tipping point. And the tipping point right now, we know it is 25 million. But those 25 million have to be able to create rope teams. So this is the way I keep building communities, is through rope teams.
I love that. That's a great analogy. That's really great. And we know that like having just one person in your network is really key. And I like the concept of 5, but it doesn't have to be huge networks. Just making sure that you're really connected to a small team. And like you said, you kind of support each other. So that's amazing. And we already kind of went over eliminating challenges and rumination and staying present. So are there any kind of final thoughts you have or that you want to share with our listeners today before we head out?
Well, I think that basically just reinforcing the incredible job that you keep doing. We need this more than ever. So you are resilient. and you know that, and we need that resilience. But resilience in this case is really critical in order to get things done. And this is what we need. We need a bit of patience, because nothing is permanent. And this is something that people don't feel good. It's like people don't want change. And people don't want change because they have fear to the unknown. It's not because things move. It's because they have fear to the unknown. That's why change is difficult. Right now, we are under so much change. It's all the time. So in order to deal with change, we need resilience. And in order to have resilience, we need patience. And in order to have patience, we need inner peace. So it's something that you cultivate yourself. And I think that this is something that is part of the embodiment, part that we all have, and you especially. So that would be my last thing. Let's be all Catherine and learn from you, because you embody what you do.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom. I learned so much today. So I'm going to have to go listen back and research some of the techniques you use. I'm really excited to do that. And I think our listeners will be as well. So you're a wealth of knowledge, and you do so much amazing work in this world, and have learned from really the best the best and the brightest and are yourself. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us all, and can't wait for the next Happiness Fest. It's coming up upon us.
It's coming up. Become a capitalist. That's the call to action. Capitalist is somebody who is able to cultivate freedom to be, consciousness to expand and evolve, and happiness to share. And all that is wrapped with hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
So become a capitalist.
Capitalist. Perfect. So go to worldhappiness.foundation to find out and to sign up. Again, it starts on March 17th of this year, and we do it every year. So, and you can listen to the videos and whatnot, and even after the fact. So it's a really great, really incredible teachers that are on. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for listening in. Wishing you a wonderful week, and we'll check you next week on the Hope Matrix.
So thank you all for listening in to the Hope Matrix podcast. We want to shine a light that hope is teachable, hope is measurable and teachable, and provide you with actionable insights for how you can start activating hope in your life today, and provide a framework so you can start talking about hope with other people and practice these skills together, because we are better with hope. Please feel free to check out theshinehopecompany.com, where we list all of our resources around how to hope. We have a lot of free programs for how to hope, including the 5-day challenge, our hope infographic with a lot of skills that showcase how to hope, and articles of how to incorporate hope into your life. We have the Hope Beat Weekly, which is a weekly newsletter that shares strategies for hope. We have a My Hope Story template, so you can write your own hope story today. Also, My Hope Hero, so we can share what our heroes are doing to activate hope in their lives. And this is especially good with youth, so they can start looking up to people that have overcome similar challenges to them and seeing how these heroes use the Shine Hope framework. We have a Hopeful Minds for Teens program, a Hopeful Minds overview, educator guides. We have a new evidence-based college course, so you can activate hope on the college campus. There are programs in the workplace, overview courses, 90-minute courses for learning the what, why, and how to hope. What I want you to know about hope is it's a skill. You've got to practice these skills to become hopeful. It's easy to fall into despair and helplessness when we deal with challenges in life, and it takes intentional work and practice to get to hope. And yet it is always possible. So no matter what life brings, keep shining hope. Thanks so much for listening in. Have an awesome day. And of course, I've got to add that this program is designed to assist you in learning about hope. It should not be used for medical advice, counseling, or other health-related services. I, Fred, the Shine Hope Company, and myself, Catherine Getsky, do not endorse or provide any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a medical doctor. The information provided here should not be used for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition, and cannot be substituted for the advice of physicians, licensed professionals, or therapists who are familiar with your specific situation. Consult a licensed medical profession or call 911 if you are in need of immediate assistance. And be sure to know the crisis hotline, 988, if you are in need of support. Thanks a bunch for listening. Take good care of yourself and keep shining hope.